Right boys, this week's trading is finished, so let's break it down. We did miss one trade on Tuesday, so we're going to start off with that trade, and then we're going to talk about this loss that was on Wednesday, and finally the win that we had on Friday. Overall, $90, so $180 across both accounts because we copy traded it. So let's start off with the first trade that was actually a missed trade. So on Tuesday night, we made these equal lows down here, as you can see, some nice smooth lows during the kind of early hours before London. And then down here, we had this big displacement leg and retracement back into the first presented fair value gap, which would have been where I was wanted to get in. I didn't enter this trade, honestly, because I was too tired. I was too tired to even be up right now watching these charts. This was at like 10 to 1 in the morning, my time. So while I am like kind of getting used to staying up that late, I've just decided that I was going to wake up dead early on this particular day. And that then caused me to be too tired to even take this trade. But it's definitely still worth noting because it is absolutely my model. I was watching this and it tapped up into this fair value gap and then kind of came down here, and I basically then realized that I should probably try and enter this, but I didn't want to enter it on this fair value gap here because the risk to reward for my stop loss, if I was entering here, I would have to include, let's say I entered at the top of this fair value gap. The volume imbalance is there, but let's just say I entered around the middle of it. If it was around here, my stop loss would have had to been all the way up here at least to cover this first presented fair value gap, and obviously the target down here. So like a 1 to 6, 1 to 7, not like my most ideal. And obviously we have the new week opening gap there, so I may have even considered taking some off there, which is a 1 to 2. 1 to 1.2, sorry. And that just really isn't enough of a risk reward for me to get excited about taking a trade. I kind of always want around a 1 to 2. Obviously, higher is better, but yeah, 1 to 2 is kind of what piques my interest in a trade. So this one was missed, unfortunately. Obviously, it would have been a win, but this happens. I mean, I definitely will try not to wake up so early. I decided I was going to go surfing that day, basically, is what happened. So what happens when a Brit goes to Australia? He wakes up early to surf, I guess. Anyway, let's get on to Wednesday's trade. Okay, so on Wednesday's trading now, you can see we had this big run up during the start of the morning session, and then we did come up to some buy side liquidity. This daily SIBI high was also the high of a daily candle, so it basically was an area I kind of would have expected a trade to play out possibly. We did get technically the setup, not by no means an A+ setup, but this is where I entered here on this fair value gap. I basically was probably feeling a bit of FOMO, if I'm being honest, because of the trade that was missed the day before this. I was kind of angry at myself for missing that one due to nothing other than lack of sleep. But yeah, this trade I entered here, stop loss at the high of this candle, and was stopped pretty fast, and then realized that I probably should sit on my hands because this is likely to be a choppy session in this for the rest of this session. And as you can see, we did indeed chop. So yeah, that was all that was really to take away from this setup. Had I taken the trade on Tuesday and then seeing this setup, probably would have been a lot less likely to take it because I was obviously feeling a bit of FOMO. I wanted to maybe make up for the fact that I'd missed that trade the day before, but like, what are you gonna do? This happens from time to time. As long as I'm aware of it and I'm journaling it now, kind of, this is a form of journaling, so this is me reflecting back on that and then making sure I don't make that mistake again in the future. So anyway, after Wednesday's trading, we had Thursday, which was just a complete no. Didn't even try and trade that day because we had President Trump talking at 11 a.m. New York time, so that instantly killed that entire morning session for me. I had absolutely zero interest. However, on Friday, we did have this really nice setup, which I was able to catch. Again, all executions for both Wednesday's trade, which was a loss, and today's trade, for Friday's trade, which was a win. All executions will come at the end of the video, so this isn't just waffling. Anyway, so equal highs, bang. We ran up and swept equal highs. What did we leave behind? Equal lows. Pretty standard stuff. What then happens? We break equal highs, sweep them, displace below a low, fair value gap on the 2-minute chart. There was a 1-minute chart, but I was aware of this 2-minute fair value gap, so I was choosing to enter off this because it was a lower threshold entry. It was a lower fair value gap, which means that I'm going to get into the move sooner and it's still a valid entry. So I want to make sure that I'm part of the move as long as I can get like a decent portion of the trade as well, obviously. And that's exactly what happened. I shorted in this fair value gap somewhere around here because I think I did market enter this, and then I actually placed my stop loss at the top of this 2-minute candle. I didn't really fancy putting my stop loss all the way at the top of the first candle. Because basically the wick was pretty annoying, so I went for the top of this 2-minute candle, which is completely fine for my rules. It's completely allowable. And then I took a partial off at this new day opening gap high, so that was about a 1 to 1.9 on that, and then I left the other contract. This was entered with 2 micros. Other micro ran until the London low, so like a 1 to 2.5 on the second contract and like a 1 to 2 on the first contract. So yeah, that was today's trade. This yellow box here, for example, by the way, is the first presented fair value gap of the day on the 1 minute chart. I can show you that. A breakdown of something else I'll be paying attention to. So obviously first presented fair value gap of the day after 9:30 on regular trading hours chart. We had this extend it out through the day, as you can see. Once we came below it here, we also weren't able to get the bodies back through this 1 minute fair value gap. We did obviously tag the 2 minute, but the bodies and pretty much the entire of the candles stayed in that first presented fair value gap, and back again over here after we swept London low. We retraced all the way back up to it, and it is also actually the middle of the opening range gap roughly. So as you see my 2 white levels here, that is my opening range gap and high. So if we just roughly measure that, you can see midpoint of that, pretty much where those candles came back to. If I just move that up a bit higher, because that's actually not accurate where that is. There we go. The levels are the same now. So we can see this midpoint of this opening range gap, 22,000, 34.75. Close of that body, 1 tick above that. So that's pretty damn perfect, as ICT would say. And then open of the next candle, same price, and then bounced off. So if you are interested in the opening range gap, there are some interesting levels you can use to measure that. So now that we've gone over all of that, let's show the executions, so you know that I'm being completely honest and open with you boys. So as you can see here on Friday, went short with 2 micros, 22,000, 32.25. As you can see, short with 2 micros there. Bought one back at the new day opening gap high, like I said. Left the last one on for the London low, which was like a point and then 1 tick, so 5 ticks from the actual low of that session. So not a bad trade there at all. And then obviously on Wednesday we took that loss, so let's just scroll over to Wednesday's trading. And then as you can see there, obviously this was a very tight stop loss, so it allowed me to go short with a lot more leverage. So 5 micros here, because I was still only risking like $120, I'm pretty sure, from entry to stop loss was like $120 risk with 5 micros, which I mean is pretty crazy. And then obviously bought straight back because it was a losing trade. But yeah, that was all the trades from this week. If any of you boys are trading this week coming, a little bit of a nudge from me for this next week coming. Obviously, if any of you boys are trading, we have FOMC on Wednesday. So for me, the ideal days to trade this week are going to be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but like want to be done early on Wednesday for you want to be careful that FOMC is in the afternoon. So be very careful on the Wednesday. And then Thursday, Friday, still tradable, but more difficult typically. So yeah, that's going to be how I'm approaching this coming week, and we will break down this week's trades next weekend. So I'll catch you boys later. Good luck, good trading.